Welcome to the Wellness That Fits podcast, where we help busy moms eat well, restore energy, and clear brain fog without sacrificing family time or your sanity. I'm Cassie Greschel, registered dietitian and mom of 3. I believe wellness should fit your real life, not the other way around. If you're tired of complicated wellness trends and want simple, sustainable strategies for meal prep, holistic nutrition, and time-saving routines, you're in the right place. Let's jump in. Have you ever walked into a room and completely forgotten why you're there? Or maybe you've stared at your phone, trying to remember what you were about to do? I know I have, especially in the thick of motherhood. I remember one morning when I was packing lunches, signing probably some school papers, and trying to get out for the day. I opened the fridge, I stood there and thought, wait, what was I even looking for? That foggy, scattered feeling, that's what we're talking about today. For me, brain fog felt like just another part of mom life. But when I started connecting the dots between nutrition, brain health, and even my own family history of Alzheimer's, and started looking more into how I could support my brain, I started realizing what we eat doesn't just fuel our bodies, it shapes our memory, our focus, and how sharp we feel from day to day. And well, leafy greens, they're one of the most powerful brain foods we have. Okay, so why do leafy greens matter so much for brain health? Today, we're going to talk about important nutrients in leafy greens. We're going to talk about the science behind cognitive health and diet, and how you can actually apply this to your life this week or even today. Leafy greens like spinach, kale, bok choy, Brussels sprouts, cabbage, Swiss chard, mustard greens, collard greens, microgreens, for example, are packed with nutrients like folate, vitamin K, beta-carotene, and lutein. These compounds act as antioxidants, which protect brain cells from inflammation and even support healthy blood flow to the brain, which is key for memory and for focus. And here's the best part. The benefits aren't just for older adults. Research is showing that even young and midlife adults can really see these cognitive benefits from eating more leafy greens. I mean, we're talking memory, attention, and even decision making. So let's break down what the science actually says. So one of the most groundbreaking contributions to this conversation comes from the work of Dr. Martha Claire Morris, a nutritional epidemiologist from Rush University Medical Center. Dr. Morris developed something called the MIND diet, which stands for Mediterranean Intervention for Neurodegenerative Delay. The goal? To slow brain aging and reduce the risk of Alzheimer's. And guess what food group is front and center in the MIND diet? Yep, leafy greens. In fact, the diet specifically recommends at least 6 servings of leafy greens per week. Why? Because leafy greens are consistently linked to slower cognitive decline across large populations. So let's look at one of the key studies first, and then we'll kind of start talking about a couple other studies that support it. So in 2018, a major study was published in the journal Neurology. Researchers from Rush University and Tufts Human Nutrition Research Center followed 960 adults, the average age being around 80, for almost 5 years. And what they found was incredible. People who ate just 1 serving of leafy greens a day, so think spinach, kale, romaine, they had the memory and cognitive function of someone who was 11 years younger than those who rarely ate greens. 11 years! That's not a small effect. That's brain aging being slowed dramatically just from adding leafy greens to your plate daily. Okay, so maybe you're thinking, okay, that's great for aging adults, but what about me? I'm in my 30s or maybe my 40s and just trying to remember where I left my car keys or, why I came into the kitchen. So this is a great question, and that's why I dug a little deeper. I looked at a study that was published in Frontiers in Aging Neuroscience, and it looked at young to midlife adults, so ages 25 to 45. And they found that people with higher levels of lutein, which is a compound found in leafy greens like spinach and kale, had better attention spans and cognitive flexibility. So that's big. It means that even before signs of cognitive decline start showing up, your brain can benefit from these nutrients. Okay, so I mentioned lutein. Now, what is it and why does it matter? Lutein is a carotenoid. So this is a plant pigment with antioxidant properties. It's found in spinach, kale, romaine, Swiss chard for the leafy greens, but it's even found in smaller amounts in other foods like broccoli, peas, and even eggs, and avocados as well. But because it's fat soluble, it's probably best to eat it with a healthy fat like olive oil or an avocado or even flaxseed oil. And that is actually going to help your body absorb more of it. Okay, so while the research in young adults is exciting, there's more. I looked at a meta-analysis. So this was a study in 2021. And a meta-analysis is basically a study that looks at a whole bunch of other studies. And so this was published in Molecules. It reviewed randomized control trials, so it's kind of like the gold standard for nutrition science, and it looked at the link between dietary lutein and cognitive performance in adults. And here's what they found. Lutein was associated with modest improvements in memory, attention, and executive function. While these improvements weren't statistically significant, the overall takeaway was that lutein may help prevent cognitive decline, particularly in the area of executive function. And when we talk about executive functioning, think about like that's your brain's ability to plan, organize, and to stay on task. And so again, with this study, it was not statistically significant, but meaning it wasn't necessarily significantly improving memory. But looking at other studies, we know that lutein could probably help prevent the decline. So more like maintain cognitive function. So it's not just about aging. It's about optimizing your brain function right now. All right. So what does this all mean? Let's try to put this all together. Whether you're 25 years old or you're 85 years old, leafy greens support a sharper, more focused brain. So just one serving per day can make a measurable difference. Nutrients like lutein, folate, and vitamin K in greens are linked to better memory, attention, and also decision making, or that executive functioning. And research backs this up, as we've learned, across studies with hundreds to thousands of participants. Okay, so how do we make this happen in real life? Not just like another thing added to your to-do list. So I'm going to talk about a few simple, doable ideas. We're going to talk about smoothies. We're going to talk about eggs. We're going to talk about soups and stews and toast and sandwiches, and then how you can really prep ahead. Okay, so let's start with smoothies. This is a great smoothie hack. Add a handful of spinach or kale into your smoothie. I find that spinach tends to be a little bit more I don't want to say bland, but kale can be really strong. And so if you are new to this, I would say maybe start with just like a handful of spinach. You'll barely taste it. And then if you add a banana or berries, it makes it super delicious and you hardly taste that. A green is even in your smoothie. So my go-to smoothie formula is my protein powder plus almond milk. You could use really any kind of milk that you want, whether plant-based or animal-based. And then a leafy green. I like spinach or kale, and blueberries. And we're going to talk more about blueberries in the future, but berries have a significant effect on cognitive function as well. So let me just say that one more time. So my go-to formula for a smoothie is protein powder, leafy greens, berries, usually blueberries, and some sort of milk like almond milk or something. It's so delicious and it has huge brain boosting power. So I love it. All right, so how else can we add greens into our lives? Eggs and sauces. This is a really great one. What you can do is stir chopped greens into your scrambled eggs, into an omelet. You could even blend spinach or kale into a pasta sauce. Actually, you could do a curry sauce as well. I like to do this with starting out as a base of tomatoes and then pureeing a little bit of spinach or Swiss chard into a sauce with curried spices and things. Okay, soups and stews. So toss spinach or kale into soups or stews right before you serve it. I love using Swiss chard from my garden in soups with a little bit stronger flavors like Italian sausage or pecorino romano cheese, just because Swiss chard tends to have a little bit more bitter and a little bit more flavor. And so I like to use stronger flavors to balance that complexity. And so I make a white bean Swiss chard soup with pecorino romano cheese, which is basically Parmesan cheese, but it's not made from a cow. It's made from sheep. And I love that cheese. We love that cheese here in our house. And it's a hard cheese. So it has strong flavors and we use it a lot to kind of balance those complexities of certain greens. And so I make this white bean Swiss chard soup with pecorino. And it's one of my favorite and also like my family's favorite soups. All right, another hack would be to add it to toast. So you can add a large pinch of microgreens or spinach to your egg and avocado toast, or honestly any sandwich for that matter. And then I love adding, a really easy way is just to add greens to sandwiches into wraps. So, not just lettuce, but think arugula or baby kale or Swiss chard. I personally love to use romaine. I think romaine is a great green to get started, a great leafy green to get started, because in our westernized diet, I feel like a lot of people tend to eat like iceberg lettuce. However, it's pretty empty nutritionally speaking. There's not tons of micronutrients in it. And romaine is a crunchy green that is very similar to iceberg lettuce with a little bit more crunch and then a ton more nutrients. And so I think the first step, if you have a family that really is hesitant about adding, especially some of those really darker leafy greens like spinach and kale. So if you are hesitating with that one, romaine is a great place to start. And so you can add it, just eat it as a salad. You can put it in a wrap, on a sandwich, and a lot of other applications. All right. And so prepping ahead, I think this is so key. I'm all about meal prepping and prepping ahead so you can be more present in your weekdays. So my advice here is to wash and prep 2 to 3 servings of greens at the start of the week so that they're easy to grab. No one, not even me, wants to run to the fridge for a quick lunch, open it up and see like whole heads of romaine unchopped. Like sometimes we just don't have the mental energy in our busy weeks to make these good, healthy decisions. So set aside a bit of time to meal prep and chop veggies in order to help yourself make those good decisions when you're so exhausted. And also remember, it doesn't have to be all salads all the time. Like you can add leafy greens into soups, stir fries, frittatas. I mean, these all count. It's not just like giant salads that matter. Of course, you can get a lot of leafy greens in that way, but you can also sneakily add greens throughout lots of different dishes, especially to introduce them a little bit more to kids. Okay, so what can you do right now today? Like I talk about a lot of different ways in which you can include leafy greens into your diet, but let's think about seriously, what are you going to do today? Okay, so I want you to choose one leafy green. We talked about a lot. We talked about bok choy, spinach, cabbage, Brussels sprouts, any of the collard greens, mustard greens, arugula. And so just pick one of those. Pick one leafy green. Find a recipe with that leafy green and then get that green on your grocery list. Like right now, you can add it to your grocery list. A lot of people do online ordering, and you don't necessarily need to do delivery. You could just do pickup, but add it to your grocery list. Or add it by writing it down. And then make that recipe this week. And remember, baby steps are key. If you're currently eating 0 leafy greens, aim for just 1 leafy green this week and continue your goal and include 1 leafy green next week. And then slowly add 2 leafy greens in. I think the important thing is not to perfectly follow the MIND diet, which I just talked about earlier, and eat leafy greens every single day for the rest of your life, but rather think about it where you're going to just take one small step. Be consistent with that small step, and when that habit is formed, add another leafy green to your week. Okay, so if you're ready to take this the next step further, I've actually created something for you and it's really fun. It's called 5-Day Fit in Your Greens Challenge. It's completely free and it gives you a 5-day plan with 5 simple recipes. I also included substitution notes so that you don't have to buy 5 different greens if you don't want to. The recipes do have different greens just to give you a little variety, but there are substitution notes in like which green to use in place if you want like a similar flavor profile and like, a lower grocery bill. I also have included quick hacks to get leafy greens into your day without making it complicated, and also ideas to get your friends involved. So remember to share this episode with a friend so that you guys can do the challenge together. Okay, so in this challenge, you'll learn how to fuel your brain, boost energy, and feel more focused in a way that actually fits into busy mom life. You can join the challenge by clicking on the link in the show notes. And if you do the challenge, please take a picture of what you're eating, or just whether it's a green or you eating a green, or if it's a recipe that you made that you're really proud of, please take a picture of it and tag me in it at Wellness That Fits. And I'm on Instagram, so at Wellness That Fits. All right, so if you love this episode, please follow this podcast so that you can continue to learn all about food as medicine, realistic meal prep, holistic nutrition and wellness, and food and family connection. We're going to keep the momentum going with another brain boosting food group, and we're going to talk about berries in a future episode. So follow the podcast if you don't want to miss it. Oh, and spoiler alert, berries, they're not just sweet treats, they're memory powerhouses that actually improve memory short term and not just like long term when you look at, your brain function over a decade or multiple decades. So that's a great one that's going to be coming up. And until next time, friends, keep creating wellness that fits your life. Thanks so much for tuning in to today's episode of the Wellness That Fits podcast. I hope you walk away with simple, doable steps you can put into practice right away. If you love this episode, it would mean the world if you subscribed, left a review, or shared it with another busy mom who could use some encouragement. Until next time, friends, keep creating wellness that fits your life.